Daigaho, this is Seacart, and today I'll be doing a quick video, an introduction to Python 2.7. And just like my intro to Perl, today I'm just going to explain to you some data types. And if we have some time, I might get into a couple of functions and cool stuff you can do with Python. So let's just get started, shall we? I've already made a script in the YouTube directory known as Intro to Python. So the first thing I'm just going to show you guys is how to make comments. So to comment, you just put a hash, and anything to the right is a comment. Simple. The next thing I'm going to introduce you to is data types. So Python has quite a few, and for the most part, you'll be dealing with maybe 5 or 6 data types, maybe 7. But I'm just going to list them. So I'm going to use alphabet, which is bad coding convention, mind you, but it just makes my typing a lot easier. So the first data type I want to show you guys is strings. So here's a string. And strings are basically literals or words. So when Python sees this, it sees that it has words. Even if it's like a number, like if I change this to like 5, that's still treated as a word and not as a number. So if I did um, basically a equals string 5 and then a plus a, normally you would say 5 plus 5, that's 10, not 6. Can't do math today. It's 10, but because it's a string, it will actually do concatenation, which is combining 5 and 5 to make 55. So that's an important note. And we can quickly test that. So print a, and then print a plus a. So let's run that. And as you can see, it printed 5 because it's a string. And then it printed 55 because I told you it's just going to concatenate or combine whatever you put to the right of it. So it's taking 5 and appending another 5 to the right. So 5. So 55. Cool. That's a string. In a more advanced video, I'll be doing some more thorough string operations like string splicing, string manipulation, formatting, all that fancy stuff. But today, no, it's just basics. Next variable type we have is integers. So integers are great because we love numbers, and integers will, for the most part, do math as we know it. But there are some cases. So quickly, let's just print out a few test cases. So print b plus 2, not 2. Let's pick a different number, 5. And then print b minus 1. Print b times 3. And print b divided by 4. Okay. And now let's run this. So b is 2. 2 plus 5 makes 7. Okay, that works. 2 minus 1 is 1. That's also true. 2 times 3 is 6. Great. 2 divided by 4 is 0.5. 0. Why is it 0? Well, for integers, there's something in Python called integer division. And what that means is the division happens, but then it rounds to the nearest whole number. Or technically, in this case, it rounds down. So it's supposed to be 0.5, but what it does is it looks at the whole number. So actually, I take it back. It does not round. It simply chops off everything after the first whole number. So 0 is the only integer, and then it's 0.5. So the 0.5 is just deleted. So this segments into our next data type actually, which are basically floats. And to declare a float, all you have to do is literally put a point zero, or just type in a regular decimal number like 0.7 blah. But I just wanted to demonstrate a simple concept, which is how different the math works out between integers and floats. Well, actually float, because I have a habit of adding s's. So this is actually called integer, not integers. Because, you know, I'm cute that way. So let's just print out the same mechanics here. Save that, run it. And as you can see, most of these are identical, but now they start appending this point zero, which means now these are all floats. And as you can see, it was 0 here, but it's 0.5 here. So this is normal human math as we know it. Oh, and there's also there's a small little concept. It's the idea that anytime you have a float and you're doing something with an integer, if it's any integer plus, minus, multiply, divide, whatever have you, with a float, basically mixing these two data types together, you always get a float, unless you tell it otherwise. But if you do integer to integer, it stays an integer. And obviously, float to float is a float. It's just when you mix these two that it stays a float. No pun intended, of course. And there's also actually one more operation you can do in Python. And also, you guys probably remember it from my Perl video. I think I did it in Perl as well. But there's the concept of modulo. So if I did b modulo 4, and also c modulo 4. So let's just see what we get, and then I'll explain. So I get a 2 here and a 2.0 there. So what is modulo? Modulo is basically finding the remainder. So here I'm saying what is 2 divided by 4? Well, 4 goes into 2 0 times, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So I have remainder 2. And that is true in both cases, both integer and floating. So that's just something useful to know in case you ever wanted to find the remainder. Another data type that we often use is basically called booleans. And booleans are basically either it's on or it's off. It's either true or it's false. So you can say true, and it's important to note that you can't, so it's not the same if you type it with lowercase t as opposed to capital, because capital T tells it to be a boolean, while this just tells it to basically take on whatever the variable true with lowercase t is pointing to at this time. But it's pointing to nothing, so when you try to run it, it's going to complain because it doesn't know what true equals. Likewise, there's also false. So these are great if you ever need to test a condition. And you can actually also print out a test to see what happens. So I can say print b double equals c, and double equals means compare the two elements to the left and to the right. So I'm saying compare whatever b points to, which is 2, to c, which is 2.0. And this should be true, which it is. So lovely. So boolean. So there you have 1, 2, 3, 4 data types. We can do a couple more. Another data type, a more advanced data type in my opinion, is something called a list. So a list is like an array from Perl. It's the idea of storing multiple items in one location or in one variable. So E is equal to, and to make a list, you simply do square brackets, and you can fill it up with whatever you want. So A, B, C, D. And I'm just going to put spacings. It's just easier on your eyes. So this is a list or an array, and a list can hold anything. You can have a list of lists, you can have a list of mixed data types like I have right here. You can even have like a list of a list holding different types, and maybe one of them is actually another list that lists other data types. So the possibilities are endless. But anyway, that's the list. Let's just quickly print it out so you guys can see what it looks like. Boom. And as you can see, the first one, 5, is in quotes, which means it's a string. And then we have integer, float, and boolean. Cool. And again, in a future video, I'm going to go more in depth with list/arrays. I'm just going to call them lists from now on. So Python videos, these are lists. And speaking of lists, there's actually another data type called a dictionary. And just like in English, a dictionary holds a key and a value. So if you ever wanted to look up the meaning of a word like superfluous, you would simply open up your Webster's dictionary. If you go old school like I do, go to the S section, look up superfluous, and then the value that it points to is the definition, which, if you guys are curious, superfluous just means kind of excessive. So, to make a dictionary, you actually just do curly braces, and then to enter your key, let's say I want a key of superfluous. You basically just, if it's a string, quotes. If it's not a string, then you just type it in, literally. After that, you do a full colon, and then to the right of the colon is what you want. So I want the definition. And actually, just to make it look nice, spacing. White space is very important, guys. You have to have white space to make your code readable and pleasing to the eye. It's just aesthetically pleasing, I know. It's all about the beauty, boys. Excessive. And if you guys ever want to add more, it's just comma. So that's a dictionary. And now I'm just going to print it out. So it's the whole idea of key and concept here. So why do I do this and not this? Why do you use the dictionary? Well, let's say, actually not even why you want to use the dictionary. Let's just say you just want to see the keys, okay? I believe it's f dot key. Might be keys. I'll check that in a future video actually. But let's just say I just want to see what superfluous is. So basically in dictionaries, you put the name of the variable of the dictionary, and then in square brackets, you put in whatever key you want. So I'm putting superfluous. My answer should therefore be excessive, which is true. So that's a dictionary. And basically, these are the fundamental data types in my opinion. There's also tuples. Tuples, you could think of it as kind of mathematical. Um, just think of it as a bunch of lists sandwiched together in another list. That's the best way to explain a tuple without getting into some mathematical crap. But for this video, I'm just gonna stay away from tuples until we get into in a more advanced video, I guess, when I start explaining about tuples and other data types like objects. I just wanted to keep this video really simple and really short. So I think I'm going to end the video here, guys. But if you guys wanted me to cover anything else that you think I probably should have covered here, please leave it down in the comments below. And as always, please favorite, like, and subscribe because you guys are awesome. C-Card out.